The University Tower chimes ring in another session of Ask the Professor, the show on which you match wits with University of Detroit Mercy professors in an unrehearsed session of questions and answers. I'm your host, Matt Mayo, and let me introduce to you our panel for today. To my left, furtively working on a key for your logic class. Oh, and you just ate a cookie.
Working on a thin mint, you mean?
Working on the thin mint. It's Professor Beth Olja.
Good to be here.
It is the logic class, though, right?
Yeah.
I'm seeing logic tables, so I assume that's
Yep,
in
it's
the
the
logic
logic class. Yep.
So what are they doing just about midterm here? Figuring
Just
out.
about done with truth tables and just about to start proofs, which is when things get fun.
Oh, okay. The students think it's fun, too, of course, because you make it fun.
Eventually, they come to, oh, it's just like a little puzzle I have to solve, and
You're like,
I have to use certain rules to solve it. I'm like, yeah, good.
that's the way it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else do you have? Do you have some intro this term?
No.
Oh,
I have the section of Foundations of Ethics and Contemporary Moral Issues,
okay.
where I
Well,
did end up teaching abortion.
Okay.
Because I thought I would not, but
it went through, and
I had the material prepped.
well, that's a good thing to teach from.
So sloth, right, was really what generated that
How-
decision.
Is it too controversial to ask how that topic went, or and students were receptive to thinking about things?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, they realize that, thinking philosophically about abortion is vastly different from pretty much any of the public discourse that goes
Of
on.
course.
So,
Yeah. Okay, great. Very cool. Professor Erin Bell is here. Erin, you're teaching this semester.
Yes, I am strictly online though, so always interesting,
okay.
trying to make that a little more engaging.
Okay.
And I do like the face to face, but I'm glad I'm employed to
Sure.
do it in some way, I guess.
Sure. This is the writing, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
the old ENL 1310.
That's all right. That's
Absolutely
a very important
crucial.
class.
It is.
Absolutely
it is.
crucial.
And I don't know. So I know a few months ago we were all talking about AI. So I tried to be really clever and come up with all these different types of essay assignments. And I think people are either going to love it or loathe it. So far, maybe it's a little more on the loathing side because they're more critical thinking, more reflection, trying to beat the AI, which is impossible. But we'll see how it goes.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
I
Keeping
did
them
have
on
a
their
colleague
toes.
at another university who sent me something that she says is actually working pretty well. It's at least putting the fear of God
Oh.
into students, involves having them submit papers as Google Docs. They have to do that.
Yes.
And then there's a way in which I guess you can figure out literally keystroke for keystroke
Yes.
what they've done.
Yeah, watching the live edits kind of come in on a Google Doc so you can see line by line, because if it just copy paste, it's copied and pasted. I that's a lot of time. So God bless your colleague, because
Well, yeah, not sure I'm going to do it.
right.
Well, we appreciate you putting in the time with those mostly first years, right? Because that makes all the rest of our jobs easier further down the line, for sure. At least we hope it will.
Yes.
Knock on wood. We're back with guest panelists, Professor Dave Gasillo, new to the Department of Communication Studies. How's it going?
All's going well. So that was a fun first round.
Yeah. You got the is it the Vandy logo?
It's Villanova.
Oh,
yeah,
Nova.
that's where I did
Oh my
undergrad.
gosh.
Yeah.
Hit me over the head. I
No,
got
that's
that
okay.
wrong.
They were sometimes our nemesis in Ethics Bowl.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
And football. There's in the library. There's a Detroit Mercy Villanova football newspaper or something.
Interesting.
Program
Wow.
from back in the day. Yeah.
So you're taking care of the VN this semester. How's that going?
That's going well. So I got a good group of students, and they're really passionate about the stories that they're writing about, and we're reworking the website, which is, I don't know if you've seen it, but looks like it hasn't been reworked since I was in middle school, which, so...
Could be
yeah.
right on that.
Yeah, so
Could
we're making some strides to be a little more digital.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Look forward to seeing that. Always like seeing a fresh copy of the VN because it gives me this nostalgia about learning to read from a newspaper.
And you were
Share
the
that
editor-in-chief,
story with
is that correct?
you. A very long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yes.
Very
Really?
long time ago. Yeah,
Did not know
that's
that.
Time ago.
a long time ago in another life.
And he co-writes the school song.
Yeah, well,
I think they need to replace
we
Tommy
don't
Tyson
brag about
with,
things that happen at our men's basketball games much anymore.
Oh.
They did just win their first game the other day. They're now 1-27. So if you haven't seen the picture of the single person rushing the court after that win. That is not a joke. Someone runs out into the middle and goes like this and then goes back to the side. It is entertaining. And I felt very bad for everyone involved. But they gave us a solid half hour on the ticket the other day. It was all negative, but it was horrible. Yeah, it's just, don't even get me started. Professor Jeff Boats is here. Good to see you again, Jeff.
How's it going?
How is your writing and editing going?
Oh, pretty good. I'm in Query Wonderland right now, which basically means you send a letter out to a whole bunch of agents and hope somebody takes you seriously.
That's cool. Very, very cool.
Emphasis on the word hope.
Absolutely. And I couldn't help but notice, forgive me, I did not read the last page of your latest manuscript, but you have 2 titles for the hero already after the first book.
Oh, no, I've planned this out. It's going to be a series.
This
Your
is so
question is, will
cool.
it be traditionally published or self?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I'm determining in the next 6 months, probably.
I think that's cool. I think that's very, very cool. So I just love how you already, it's like, how do you write a mystery? Well, you get the ending first, and then you work back, you already got the
I
titles. for
outline
the
the
sequels.
heck out of this
I
thing.
bet.
My outline is like 20,000 words.
Oh
It's
my
nuts.
gosh, that's incredible.
Because I don't.
It's not a bad thing.
No, that's. A
I don't
great
want to fill up
idea.
the whole show, but it's
Little
a process.
planning. Nice. Professor Stephen Manning is here.
Hello, Matt.
Good afternoon. And, oh, geez, did you actually get the motorcycle out on the 60-degree day?
I did not.
Oh,
It's kind of brushed down, and
I
there's a
understand.
cover on it, and it's in the part of the garage where you have to move some other things out of the way. So it's
got it.
the garage is in winter mode now. But
Mhm.
I was tempted.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Dave Chow didn't take his handsome car out. He said he ran it for a few minutes
Yeah.
on the warm day and then went back inside. I'm like, oh man, there were so many classics on Woodward that day. It was bananas.
How is Puppy?
Yeah.
He's good.
Continuing to improve, I hope.
Yes.
Okay.
He remains more or less hairless though.
On that side.
on that side where the operation.
Well, but
the
it's
operation
better that
is.
his ACL is working than.
But actually, he's there's hair growing. There is hair growing at the incision point,
On the
Okay.
knee. What's equivalent
which is
to
kind
our
of
knee.
odd.
Yeah.
We don't know why it's growing there and nowhere else, but so he's kind of odd looking, but we're now beginning to let him out the back when he wants to go out.
A little bit.
A little bit out as soon as it's gated, of course, but let him out and don't run. You can't run. You can go out and kind of sniff around and look around, and you come right back in when we call you. So we're beginning to do that a little bit.
Well, and it's not like he's self-conscious about the.
Well, I
Lack
don't know.
of
He's
fur.
got. There's this little golden doodle in the neighborhood. Female golden doodle that we call his girlfriend.
Oh,
Really?
has the hots for Kenai?
I think the other way around.
Oh.
I was hoping to hook our dogs up because my husky has like the sort of weird amputated tail, and I thought they'd be like cute together.
They would be. Oh, no, that's not serious.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, the
Ours
thing
is
with
not
the
a-
golden doodle's not
Friends
serious.
to
Okay,
It's very-
benefits.
It's
Ours
very
is not
casual
amputated, but
relationship.
most of it, I mean,
Yeah.
it's long, but most of it is just like a rope. There's no hair on it. And it's supposed to be a fuzzy hair,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And
You know what
there's no...
it's-
Mine's
It's like a rope.
my
Professor,
little girl's got a little shorty. So.
Heather Hill with the canine dating update.
That's right. Yeah, it's so cute. It's adorable.
The way that
actually.
you said all that, it's actually quite casual. I can't get over it. Oh, I think that's great.
His little girlfriend walks by.
Oh.
You know.
She's very cute.
She is. She's quite
A
cute.
golden doodle.
Yeah. She
Amazing.
just went to the beauty parlor too.
Oh my God.
They are cute
This
dogs.
is through the roof here.
Anyway.
Well, folks, this is a program where you can send us questions regarding anything. If you stump the panel, you win one of our prizes. If you don't stump the panel, you win one of our prizes. It's been a while since someone sent us a set of questions where they just take 2 dog breeds and push them together and do a new breed.
Okay.
Like, maybe we'll get a set of questions like that. Golden doodle? Sure. If you send the questions to us in a number of ways, you can email us at atp@udmercy.edu, find us on Facebook and Instagram, or listen on your favorite smart speaker by asking it to play Ask the Professor at University of Detroit Mercy. So we had some questions sent to us by some sort of mystery question sender, and they say, "Good afternoon, professors. The 15 questions in this set have one thing in common. The answers to each are individuals, notable for having done or said something. A passing grade is, parentheses, very generous, and possibly grade inflating, 10 out of 15. For extra fun, there's an additional 5 answered teaser question at the end. Ooh, I wonder what's going to tease. This is going to be
teasing.
interesting. Okay.
Kind of like, that dog that teases our dog.
Jeez.
It's like, why hasn't somebody thought of like a dog reality show yet? I mean, seriously, come on.
Well, and her owner puts these little boots on her.
Oh, my goodness.
Because in the cold weather, she doesn't want to. So there are these little black boots, and she's golden. She prances around, gets Kenai all excited. It's
Wow.
crazy.
She's right out of Paris, this dog.
I know.
We
Ooh la
understand.
la.
We understand the attraction. It's just so
Wait,
obvious.
what's the name of the dog?
What is her
When you
name?
said Ula, I was like, oh my gosh, is that really the dog's name?
No. I can't remember her name, to be honest.
No. Okay, well, we got that's for a
We know-
future
we
episode.
meet the,
I'm not sure I ever knew the name.
I don't
Do
know.
we
If,
know
I
the
don't know
name?
if she ever, we
Never.
always see her.
We sometimes talk to the.
Okay,
the-
well, now
the
you've got
owners
something to
and
talk
the like.
about.
Anyway, back to the questions.
Who wrote one of Saturday Night Live's most famous sketches, the one about the self-hating motivational speaker named Matt Foley, played, of course, by the late, great Chris Farley, who wrote that sketch. Very famous
Marty
modern
went to school with him,
comedy writer.
Really?
Chris
With
Farley.
Chris
Yeah, I
Farley?
think that's right. I think I remember hearing that. Marty Lieber, one of our philosophy professors.
Who wrote that sketch?
Who
huh?
wrote
Phil Hartman?
Not Phil Hartman.
That'd be the era.
You're in the correct era. This person,
Dan
was, I could
Aykroyd?
give it away, was
Lorne.
known for
Bill Murray?
Mr. Show before he started playing a very important lawyer role on Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk.
Yes.
rats.
I didn't know he was a writer for SNL. That's cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a comedy genius, and that's why it's so odd he ended up in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. But that acting is just, those are two of my favorite shows of all time. Who composed the first work by a black woman to be played at a major U.S. orchestra, by a major U.S. orchestra? Symphony No. 1 was played by the Chicago Symphony in 1933. Who composed it?
I can see a picture of her because I read an
Uh-oh.
article about her
Oh.
quite some time ago.
Initials
but
FP is what it
Florence.
says. That's right.
Florence
Not cost, but
Price.
price. Yeah. There's whispering.
I was going to give you a hint and say land.
Florence Price.
Oh, why didn't you answer then if you knew the last name?
So, the next question is,
I don't know what's going on.
who
Okay.
said, "It is important to me that we don't take a position of being content censors"? This is fairly recent.
It's important to
Zuckerberg.
me. Zuckerberg.
I mean, you're in the wheelhouse. I'll tell you the
Elon
name.
Musk.
That's the answer. It's Daniel Ek, but what is he better known as being connected to?
Facebook.
It is important to me that we don't take a position of being content censors.
TikTok?
Not TikTok.
Twitter.
Nope. If Twitter even exists, I don't know.
Right.
If Twitter even exists.
Is social
That's right.
media
X.
outlet?
I mean,
No.
music social media.
Oh,
Spotify?
It's Spotify.
Oh,
yeah,
Spotify. Yeah.
So
Okay.
who knows where all these wild social media things are going to take our fair country and world into the future here. Who was the first black recipient of a Pulitzer Prize in any category? This would be 1950. Looking to the English
Ellison.
prof. Let's see. No, that's not. It's a female.
Oh,
For her second collection, Annie Allen is the name of it.
Annie Allen.
1950. I don't.
Initials GB.
Gwendolyn Brooks.
Gwendolyn Brooks is
Yay!
what it says here. 1950, yep.
Wow.
There was no, it didn't say male or female or whatever in the stem of the question, so I understand the little confusion there. What filmmaker is the first person to be nominated for Best Director Oscar in 6 different decades? That's bananas.
Billy Wilder.
Last time was 2022.
Oh.
Clint Eastwood?
Nope.
Scorsese.
Nope.
That's a good guess,
That
though.
is a very good guess.
No. I'm
Couple of.
Walt Disney.
Oh.
No.
Can you repeat
2022.
2022? Well, you never know.
That really would
right.
be impressive.
That would be impressive. We agree with that.
Cryo head.
Yes, exactly. I actually thought I wasn't impressed by the 2022 movie that this person
Spielberg?
made. It was Spielberg. It was his West Side Story in 2022,
Oh.
which was wonderful. But it's just sort of like, I don't know what to make of the ones that just remake the original thing. You know what I mean? There was nothing new
Yeah.
about it. Let's do Psycho, shot for shot. Why? Like, I don't understand. I just don't get it. Yeah, that's just
Although
me.
Hitchcock, the movie about the making of Psycho with Helen Mirren and Anthony Hopkins, is wonderful.
Very good.
I don't
Very
Have
good.
you seen it?
I don't think so.
My wife reminded me as we flipped a couple channels falling asleep last night, we came across The Color Purple, and that The Color Purple 1985, because there was a remake recently, unfortunately.
Yeah.
1985, that was 12 Oscar nominations for that film and was denied in every
Yeah.
nomination.
I actually have never seen that, which is really odd.
Oh,
I've never seen
it's-
that. I've never seen To Kill a Mockingbird. I know, isn't that amazing?
spectacular.
I've read the book, of course, but
All right,
I've never
all
seen
right.
the movie.
All
Stop
right.
the show. Let's get back
Yeah.
in front of a television.
So Leslie's
Come on.
back from San Diego.
You have you must
Yeah, exactly.
you must
I know.
you must.
It is important.
This Gregory Peck is so cute.
He actually is quite adorable in that movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's cute.
Who is the first black woman to lead one of the 12 regional reserve banks in the Federal Reserve Bank's 108-year history?
We'll need some initials at least.
SMC are the initials, and she's connected, at least previously, to the University of Michigan. She's an economist. I believe until their recent troubles with bad provosts, she was provost of the University of Michigan.
Sandra. Samantha.
Sharon.
Rena.
So
Shirley.
it's Susan M. Collins was her name. She was recently identified. She identifies as Jamaican American, has an undergrad degree from Harvard and a doctorate from MIT. So definitely low performing, right? Wow,
Oh, yeah,
that's
right,
incredible.
yeah.
That is incredible. Who said this line? I am a broken piece of machinery. I am ready. February 3rd, 1924. Ooh, it was an anniversary a few days ago.
Lee Majors.
We get a lot of Lee Majors. responses
I'm sorry,
here.
could you repeat the question again? I'm
course.
so sorry.
Who said, I am a broken piece of machinery. I am ready. February 3rd, 1924, among his last words to his wife, Edith, before he passed.
Oh, Wilson. Woodrow Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson. Yep. He never fully recovered, so that would have been, 5 years later, from a stroke he suffered in 1919. So, who, after a 10-year relationship with Picasso, went on to marry Jonas Salk? What a great just opening line there. Wow.
Not to marry Jonas Salk.
Salk, of course, developed the polio vaccine. Or the
This is an
first one.
artist.
Sure. I'm not familiar with the name. FG are the initials.
I thought when you said Picasso, you were going to say Picard, and I was like, oh, I know this
It's
one.
going to be a Star Trek
yeah.
reference.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said FG?
FG, yes. Yeah,
Okay, it's
I'm
not
sorry,
Frida
I don't
Kahlo.
have, I mean, thinking about other famous artists of the time. So Francois Gillot, I don't recognize the name. I'm
Me
sorry.
neither.
Yeah, sorry about that. Person who wrote these questions.
Who hasn't given you their name?
Not at all. Who holds? Let's switch gears, shall we? Who holds the world's record as the youngest person who wrote, produced, and performed a Billboard #1? 1988. The song was "Foolish Beast."
Beat.
Oh, "Foolish Beat."
Oh,
it looks like we had.
was it Tiffany, Debbie Gibson?
It
one of
was
those?
Debbie Gibson.
Debbie
Yes,
Debbie
sorry.
Gibson, all
I think we
right.
had a little bit of autocorrect
That's my
there.
era.
Oh man, that is
Madonna
awesome.
wannabe.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit, but she was very, very talented, and she was
No,
kind of doing everything
I
before
remember.
Britney Spears, before
Oh, I know.
Taylor
I'm not
Swift, you
gonna-
know.
I'm not gonna.
I couldn't help myself. I saw a wonderful little Super Bowl meme because some crackpot is out there this last week saying that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are going to get together, and she's going to conceive the Antichrist, and
Oh, okay.
fans is
I
posting
thought
in the
that
comments
knew.
right below it, like, she has to give birth to the Antichrist too? She does everything. And that was the response. I was like, that's pretty good,
She's already
actually.
doing so much.
Nothing compares to Puppy Bowl
She's
last
a
weekend.
Renaissance woman. What?
Puppy Bowl last
No,
weekend.
I didn't watch
They
Puppy
kept
Bowl.
cutting up to the little skybox, and Taylor sniffed.
Oh my god.
A little Bichon Frise was looking down on the game. That was awesome.
Oh my
I
god.
My
love
sister
it.
used to have one of those dogs, and it's actually pronounced bitchin' frizzy, according to
right.
my brother-in-law.
Right,
That's
right.
how you say it.
What was the name again? What was
Taylor sniffed.
Taylor sniffed? Oh, that's adorable.
My 20-year-old oldest child came down, peered over the couch as we're watching Puppy Bowl, which was very entertaining. And he goes, oh man, I don't even know if I can say it with a straight face. Puppy Bowl 20, well, they've been around the block. Or something to the effect of, like, I'm getting old. I'm like, yeah, Puppy Bowl 20, who'd have thunk it?
Been around for a while now.
All that while, and never a repeat champion.
True. True.
you
The
go.
score was like 83 to 81.
Pretty sure
this year.
necessarily.
What was the final score? 83 to
83 to 81. I'm not even
Oh,
joking.
wow.
They just
But
allowed
could you
me to
imagine
the
it with
score.
kittens? It just wouldn't. You
Well, the
know.
kittens are the halftime show. A kitten rode a motorcycle and jumped
my
over
God.
stuff at the halftime. It is the most
Oh
surreal
no,
thing.
they
in
didn't
the
jump
world.
the shark, did they?
No, it did
Oh,
not.
good, good.
It did not. But the best.
they jumped the
I
goldfish.
actually almost took a picture of my
Name
TV and
Fonzie.
sent it to you, Beth, because they have like cutaways to like the production crew. I'm thinking of the people running the video and whatever, and it's kittens. But they were all like playing with this toy in the corner, and like, oh, chaos in the booth. It's just silly, stupid puns the entire time. It just really entertaining. I needed that.
sorry.
It's
I
like
really
The Secret
did.
Life of Pets.
That
You
was
should
mine.
watch that if you never have.
Yeah, palate cleanse after the Lions lost. Like that was yeah.
You should have watched that.
What was the pen name adopted by Gloria Watkins? Most folks know this one, right?
The pen name adopted by Gloria Watkins.
Little known fact, when I was a student here at Detroit Mercy, she was slated to give a talk on campus that got poo-pooed by
Dr.
our
Ruth.
president at the time.
Dr. Ruth.
Nope.
Gloria Watkins.
Gloria Steinem?
Nope.
Can you give us some initials?
BH. All lowercase.
Oh, Bell
Bell
Hooks.
Bell Hooks.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I've heard about this.
She derived her name from her great-grandmother. She was said to write her pen name in lowercase to shift sort of emphasis from herself to her ideas. Yes, that was. There were a lot of political cartoons in the VN that semester that had a bell with hooks hanging out of it, like in the background of like everything that happened. So,
I taught her book when I first
gave,
came here.
Sister Maureen a
Feminist
hard
Theory
time.
from Margin to Center. You
God
probably
rest
taught
her.
it. Yeah.
Yes. What famous person was afraid of the dark, crowds, and solitude? Going back to a comment Beth made a few minutes ago, you should be able to get this. What very famous director was afraid of the dark, crowds, and solitude?
Hitchcock?
Yeah, Hitchcock. He made a lot of movies about those things, but apparently was scared of them. Who was the first woman to be nominated twice for Best Director? That's a good one with Oscar season coming up.
Sofia Coppola?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's a
Good
good
guess.
guess.
Initials JC.
Jane.
Oh, Jane
Campion?
Campion.
Jane
Yep,
Campion.
Jane
yeah.
Campion. The second one was Power of the Dog, which I have not seen. So,
You're
Have you
not
seen
really
that?
missing anything, in my opinion.
you didn't dig it, huh?
Power of the Dog.
It was Hurt Locker was the first one, right?
She didn't
The-
direct
the
that.
piano.
The piano.
Piano. That's right.
Which
Jeez.
I wasn't very.
Me and Oscar winners.
I mean, they're really good performances. There's no question. Although, why anyone would think that New Zealand looks like Montana is
Right.
beyond. Like, you people really don't know what mountains look like, do you?
you could just go to Montana to film too. You know, I mean, maybe there's no tax credit.
But
there or something.
it's kind of an interesting,
Who's the main actor in The Power of the Dog?
Jeez.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, it is.
Really?
Cumberbatch?
Oh, well, tell me
It's
more.
about toxic masculinity.
Okay,
kind
okay.
of. So
I think. Okay.
Maybe less.
Yeah. What American First Lady was a compulsive shopper, ran up huge debts that she tried to hide by falsifying bills and misappropriating federal funds?
Dolly Madison.
It wasn't Dolly Madison.
sounds like something Mary Lincoln would have been
It
accused.
is indeed. Mary Todd Lincoln is who we were looking for.
Because there's that scene in Lincoln
Mhm.
when they're having the big party, and she really lets Tommy Lee Jones have it about
Mhm.
household accounts for the White House.
Right. Right. She lets Tommy Lee Jones have it. I love it. She travels in time to the future. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, she
That's
does. She's
funny.
like, people are never going to love you the way they loved my husband, and how important it is for you to remember that. Like, wow. Don't run afoul of her.
Nice little bit of sports trivia here. Who was the first black woman and the first female college player enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame? Also, officially, the first woman drafted by an NBA team. It's actually kind of cool piece of trivia.
Cheryl, no.
The initials are LH, the Queen of Basketball. She led the Delta State, Cleveland, Mississippi women's basketball team to 3 consecutive national championships in the mid-'70s and was drafted by the New Orleans, now Utah, Jazz. She's also scored the first basket in women's Olympic history.
Leslie?
No, that's a good L name, though. I like that name.
I'm embarrassed I should know this one.
Lauren.
It's sort of hard. How about oh gosh, I just nearly gave the whole thing away. So who was Ricky's wife? on
Lucy?
TV shows. So Lucy, and the last name is the same as the guy that played. Oh, jeez.
Or just.
It's Harris. Okay. Lucy,
Thank you.
I don't know that one.
Lucy Harris. Sure. Her
Trivia.
first name was originally Louisa, but she went by Lucy.
Lucy Harris.
We've got a lot of interesting stuff going on. There's a couple of female refs skating in the NHL now. We had a whole bunch of female refs showing up in the NFL playoffs this year. And things are definitely getting very, very different across the board. And this year, I think Major League Baseball will have the first on base ref, who's female.
It's a world gone mad.
It's a world gone
I know,
mad.
it's going crazy,
Yeah.
man. Cats sleeping with dogs.
Mass hysteria.
Getting together. Who reportedly was the first actress to show her navel on television?
Barbara Eden.
That's not what it says here. I'm not familiar with the name. YM are the initials. I wish there was a little more info here and where this.
Yolanda. It's the only name I can think of that starts
Yes.
with Y at the moment.
Sadly, the first
Yeah.
name is the name of the maid from the Clue movie.
From the what movie?
That's the best I got.
The Clue movie?
The Clue movie.
That is not helping me as a
I'm
clue,
so
Matthew.
sorry.
How about Richard Chamberlain as a hint?
Why don't you just... Oh, I finally realized something.
I think I realize it too.
It just took me a
It's a
while.
serious crush of mine.
So first name Yvette.
Oh,
First
okay.
name Yvette, and last name starts with an M. It says Yvette Mimu. I'm not familiar with the name, so what
Sounds made
TV
up.
show or yeah?
I think this anonymous person has just made all of these up.
Possibly. It's entirely possible. Absolutely. The extra credit bonus question. Name the 5 artists or groups, performers, who've had top 40 singles in each of the last 4 decades. See if we can get like one of these. That would be great.
Say that again. I'm like zoning out over here. What?
5 artists or groups, performers, so music, who have had top 40 singles in the last 4 decades. So we'll say the 2010s, the 2000s, the 90s, and the 80s.
Sheryl Crow,
I don't have Sheryl Crow here.
Elton John.
I don't have Elton John here.
Rolling Stones.
Nope, no Stones, no Aerosmith.
Okay.
Gotta keep going back to Aerosmith.
I know, someone said that already.
Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson is a good guess. I'm giving you partial credit because it's actually Michael Jackson. We had a whole bunch of these posthumous singles that were released. So sure,
Okay.
someone wants to own the whole book, right?
Springsteen.
People, when Lady Gaga came on the scene, they're like, she's the new
Madonna.
Madonna is also
Well.
on the list. Whether that's true or not, okay.
Clearly a plagiarism issue there.
Yeah.
Um,
A very interesting performer who just keeps going and going. Real first name Alfred.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Weird Al.
Oh, my
at
goodness.
Number 1. So yes.
Okay.
I'm not joking.
Top 40.
This is great. This is great. Oh, top 40. My
Okay,
bad.
okay.
Not number 1.
Alright, now I was gonna say.
An Irish band.
You too.
You too.
U2. And, sort of a smooth jazz performer.
Kenny G.
Kenny G is on
Wow.
the list. Yeah. No, that's the real deal right there.
I think
And if
Weird
you're going
Al.
to go
Let's
for
start the
jazz
petition right
saxophone, there
now.
are so many better choices than Kenny
Weird Al
G.
should be in the
Yeah,
Rock and Roll
these are
Hall of
made
Fame.
up.
He's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of
Never
Fame.
been nominated, as far as I'm aware.
Oh my gosh. I never would have thought of that. Well, mystery person, thank you so much for sending
Yes,
these
thank
questions
you,
in.
mystery person.
Thank you, Yvette Mimu. We love you for showing your navel on
Thank
television.
you, YM.
We only have a few seconds left, and something we do every once in a while on the show, Dave, is we go to this list of things sent by the family Burrows, and they ask us to tell us our favorite of something. So this is a little bit out of the ordinary, but I think will still be interesting. What is an aroma that you find is your favorite aroma, or just maybe a good aroma that you enjoy? I'm gonna
Napalm
go
in the
out and
morning.
Yeah, that's nice.
What
Very,
did you
very
say?
What in the morning?
Napalm in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the round.
Good morning.
You and Marlon.
Yep. I'm gonna say like a pine scent. I think it's the weirdest thing. For most of my life, I've had a fake Christmas tree, but my parents always had a real one when I was growing up, and I had no idea how much that imprinted upon me.
Yeah.
And then I'll light a candle that's pine. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's
Yep.
just overpowering.
The ocean, I guess, in the same
That's a good one.
vein.
Yeah,
the Pacific
absolutely.
Ocean.
Beth stole mine, so no.
There are lots of oceans.
I know, I'm kidding.
Cilantro.
Ooh,
Cilantro, if you
that's
can smell it.
that's a controversial choice.
Yes,
It is, I know.
Garlic.
It is.
Garlic, yeah, garlic.
I like lemon balm.
And that's good. Yeah. Like even like lemongrass. You
Yeah,
know,
lemon balm,
in
like
that area. Sure.
Lemon
How
balm.
about the not when the fire is happening, but then you had a campfire, and then the next day everything smells like the smoky campfire smell. I like that smell.
It is a good smell.
The smell of a well-oiled baseball glove.
Come
I feel like
on.
baseball dirt too.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
magic
Makes me think of that
Yeah.
scene in Searching for Bobby Fischer at the beginning.
Oh,
when-
the smell
Baseball-
of Fenway Park.
Oh jeez.
Baseball dirt is magic because it's impossible to run around it and not feel happy.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely true.
Freshly mowed grass.
Freshly mowed grass is a big
Summer.
one. Absolutely.
Siberian husky dogs.
Oh,
They don't smell.
How
Bacon.
does Golden Doodle smell? Is my question.
Oh,
she probably
man.
smells like
That's
cookies.
Taylor
She's
Swift.
probably got
Taylor
some Chanel
Swift.
number 5 she's working.
Ooh la la.
So, you know.
Seriously.
With their
I'm a-
little boots.
That's right.
I'm afraid, professors, that we are out of time, and the time has come to say goodbye. Heather,
Bye.
Stephen,
Goodbye.
Jeff,
Toodaloo.
Dave,
Bye.
Aaron,
Goodbye.
and Beth.
Goodbye.
And now these words from University of Detroit Mercy.
You can email Ask the Professor at atp@udmercy.edu or visit the Ask the Professor Facebook page.
Ask the Professor is produced and directed by Michael Jason and Brian Masonville, and our executive producer is Professor Jason Roach. Until next week, I'm your host, Matt Mayo.